The Fuzziyama Surfers opening up this episode of the podcast devoted to the classic and sometimes not so classic genre cinema of yesteryear. This is Bride of Monster Kid Radio, and the song you're hearing is called Nagahama. It's from the 4-song EP by the Fuzziyama Surfers. Now you can find them over on Facebook, or you can find them over at Bandcamp under fuzziyama-nagoya-japan.bandcamp.com. or follow the link in the show notes. The Fuzziyama Surfers is a surf band based out of Japan. They gave us permission to play their music here on the show. You're going to hear this song in its entirety at the end of this episode. My name is Derek M. Cook, the writer, host, and producer of the show, welcoming you to episode 90. I appreciate you checking us out, seeing what we have to do here, and finally, we are getting to the movie that Matt has been talking about for a while now. Cyborg 2087. We're going to be meeting up with Michael Rennie playing a cyborg from the future as opposed to being from outer space. And I got to tell you, man, spoiler alert, I really enjoyed myself watching this movie. I'm really glad that I did. Had a grand time talking about it with Matt as well. So Matt Rashleigh and I are going to dive into Cyborg 2087 here in a little bit. But before we get to all of that, Kenny is back with another look at famous monsters of filmland. Cyborg 2087 was covered in the magazine, so I'm pretty pumped to go ahead and have Kenny in the mix this week with his amazing segment. And speaking of amazing segments, we've got Mark Matsky here again with another Beta Capsule review, looking at another episode of Ultraman Taro. Man, we got a lot going on in this episode, so why don't we go ahead and get to all of it right now.
Would you sign your own death certificate? You must before you witness the electrifying Night of the Living Dead and Blood and Black Lace. You must free the theater from responsibility should your heart stop. Paralyzed in fright from the 12 deadly hours of the Night of the Living Dead, where strange, incredulous molecular mutation incites cadavers to arise live from their coffins to devour all human flesh. And the House of Horror, the House of Blood and Black Lace, a chic French fashion salon where 7 breathtaking models will find their hideous, diabolical end. Night of the Living Dead, together with Blood and Black Lace, a terrifying evening with the undead.
What is Dimension 5? Is it on the side of the law?
Here's the professor's latest needle gun. These are the lethal needles.
Or against it? Can it save a doomed city from atomic destruction?
Unless you remove all your troops from Asia, Dragon will destroy Los Angeles.
From out of the depths of time's incredible 5th dimension comes a new dimension of action, adventure, and electronic espionage. Starring Jeffrey Hunter, who found himself able to go back and forward in time. Eurasian beauty Franz Nguyen. Her smile was as smooth as a kitten's.
I thought I told you to get dressed.
You also said that I had to be identified.
Her sting as deadly as a cobra's. Co-starring Harold Sakata, the hat killer of Goldfinger. Donald Woods, beware, Big Buddha is watching. Time is their ally. Time is also their deadliest foe in a desperate race to save millions from Holocaust. Don't miss Dimension 5, color.
Live from the Land of Light in Nebula M78, home of the mighty Ultra Heroes, it's Bride of Monster Kid Radio's Beta Capsule Review. Ultraman Taro, Episode 48, from a Japanese nursery song, Monster Doll Festival. Original air date March 1st, 1974. A boy named Taro, not the Ultraman, is playing along with his sisters and letting them dress him in a kimono for Girls' Day when his buddies show up and begin relentlessly mocking him. He responds with a self-deprecating dance routine before threatening them with a wrench. Kotaro shows up to offer Taro some encouragement, but is interrupted by the appearance of Kaiju Veron, a monster that can vanish at will and who loves to get drunk and dance. Taro, the boy, makes the acquaintance of a group of childlike aliens who are chasing Veron and want to capture him alive. So together with Taro's sisters, they make a large helping of white sake and launch into a song and dance routine in a bid to get the monster to pass out. They only succeed in getting Veron to dance until the ZAT sky whale can brew a huge vat of sake to spray into its mouth. Unfortunately, Kaiju Veron really knows how to party. By now, it's well established that Ultraman Taro can veer into surreal territory, and Episode 48 falls squarely into that category. The phrase fever dream gets thrown around a lot, but how better to describe Monster Doll Festival? Viewers are treated to a gender-bending protagonist, a party animal kaiju who drinks, dances, talks, and uses ninja skills, the revelation that the ZAT sky whale can brew massive amounts of sake on demand, and members of ZAT, not to mention Ultraman Taro himself, showing off their dancing skills. Yes, it's a nursery song episode based on the tune The Joyful Dolls Festival, written in 1936 and sung every March 3rd to celebrate Girls' Day. And Girls' Day traditions explain some elements of the plot, such as the doll-like instrument-playing aliens and the consumption of sweet sake. But still, it's a trip. If you need Ultraman to be played straight and serious, you'll want to look elsewhere. But if you're still looking at Episode 48, originally broadcast to coincide with Girls' Day in Japan, I have a feeling you'll be entertained. For Bride of Monster Kid Radio's Beta Capsule Review, this is Mark Mansky reporting.
That men do lives after them. Beware. 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 From beyond the grave comes blood-freezing horror as an ancient curse brings paralyzing terror to all who know the terrible secret of the 4 skulls of Jonathan Drake. I've learned how to destroy you, Zurich.
With a gun? Jonathan Drake, of all men, should know how futile that would be. Since you know that I'm dead, you know that you can't kill me.
Don't
Wait, Dad! Dad!
Join book lovers on September 26th, 2026 for the annual Books in the Desert multi-author signing event at the Doubletree by Hilton Hotel in Phoenix, Arizona. Meet your next favorite authors, buy signed books, win prizes, and more. General admission is free, and limited VIP tickets are available on Eventbrite.
Thank you. I've been standing there for centuries.
Yes, I suppose it seemed... Why, it's raining, but you're not wet.
No, I'm not, am I?
Where are you coming from?
I was watching a wonderfully terrifying double feature movie. I was a teenage Frankenstein and Blood of Dracula.
Oh?
Professor Frankenstein created a teenage monster to bring havoc and terror to all who meet him, but he left a few parts out, particularly in the poor lad's face.
May we change
and
the
the
subject?
vampire in Blood of Dracula, quite unfriendly except when hungry, than any friend will do for a few ghastly moments.
Please,
Oh, here's where I must leave you.
But there's nothing here but an old cemetery.
Yes, I know. I want to meet some old friends here. After you see I was a teenage Frankenstein and Blood of Dracula, you might drop back here. We'll discuss the pictures to some length.
Yes, I'll do that.
Hello there, Bride of Monster Kid Radioheads. This is Kenny with a look at famous monsters of Filmland. Today we are looking at the 1966 sci-fi flick Cyborg 2087. I found 2 mentions of it in FM. Let's listen to what was reported. In FM 46 from 1966, in an article previewing new movies, this news was given. Michael Rennie made his never-to-be-forgotten impression in 1951 as the master of the great robot Gort in The Day the Earth Stood Still. Now he plays Garth, a more-than-human being from the 21st century in Cyborg 2087. A cyborg is a cybernetic organism, in this case a man with surgically implanted mechanisms in his body. The film is in color. It opens in the year 2087, which is a kind of super 1984 with men's minds enslaved by an electrical device invented in the present time by Arthur Franz. Rennie's aim: get to Franz in time to dissuade him from revealing the invention which has been the direct cause of the terrible future. After Garth is a pair of government guards from the future. Essentially, the plot is about an escape from 120 years hence and 2 minions of the law from the same time who are out to prevent him from preventing the future in which they are in power. In FM 94 from 1972, in the article Shockabye Baby, about surprise endings, we have this major spoiler. Hit your fast forward button a couple times if you don't want to hear it. Michael Rennie was Garth, the Cyborg 2087. At the finale of this one, the robot hero from the future succeeded in defeating his cyborg hunters and in changing the future itself. In doing so, he ceased to exist, which of course was a paradox. Nonetheless, that's what happened. That is all for this week's look at famous monsters of Filmland. We will have more next time. For BMKR, this is Kenny saying adios.
The human duplicators.
What did he say?
The human duplicators.
The human duplicators? What does he mean?
The Human Duplicators is a motion picture unlike anything you have ever seen. It is the story of a fantastic plot to capture the Earth and turn its people into living machines, slaves for another universe. You make love to a beautiful woman, and then you discover she is an android, made to kill or love on command from another planet. The Human Duplicators, a masterpiece of shock in color, starring George Nader, Barbara Nichols, and George McCready. And on the same thrill program, Mutiny in Outer Space, astounding adventure from the center of the moon. The Human Duplicators and Mutiny in Outer Space, 2 terror hits from Warner Brothers.
This is Count Vlad, but you may recognize me by my more familiar name, Count Dracula, and I'm here to offer you a friendly warning. Derek and his guests often get excited, and occasionally this results in revealing key plot points of the movies they're discussing. In your parlance, you might call these revelations spoilers. You know how the children of the night, monster kids, can get sometimes. So consider yourself warned, and don't come begging to me to kill them for their transgressions afterward. I have more pressing issues to take care of, like that pesky Van Helsing.
All right, listeners, it's been talked about, it's been hinted at, it's almost been threatened that we're going to talk about Cyborg 2087, courtesy of Matt Rashleigh, bringing it to the show. How you doing, man?
I'm good. I've been able to make it from the future. I'm ready to talk about now.
The weird thing is that by the time we're done with this and you go back to the future, I'm going to forget all this. Maybe the listeners will too. I don't know. I hope not. This was a fun film, man. I want to know how you came across it, though. I want to know the origin story behind you and Cyborg 2087.
Oh, I wish I had a good origin story. It's been months since I originally found it and got excited about it. I can't remember if it was something I saw that was obscure, offered up on a streaming service, and I was like, oh, I got to check that out. Or maybe it was when you and I were talking about, what was it, Destination Terror?
Maybe, yeah.
With Michael Rennie in it. And I was doing Michael Rennie research, and I saw Cyborg 2087 as one of the things he had done, and I was like, I've never heard of that, but I need to see it now. That sounds more plausible. I'm going to go with that. Story number 2.
Okay.
I'm not sure which timeline.
I'm going to throw a wrench in there. Could it have been looking into Arthur C. Pierce? Because he was the writer on this, and he did Beyond the Time Barrier and the Human Duplicators, which we talked about, right?
Right. It could have been Arthur C. Pierce. I think it was probably Michael Rennie. Okay. But yeah, Arthur C. Pierce has definitely been a treasure trove of genre cinema that I never knew about. And the more things I've seen and the more things I've read, like, I've enjoyed every one of them, for better or worse.
I want to do a huge deep dive into Arthur C. Pierce. There is a lot here. Every time we talk about one of his movies, or even just kind of glancingly brush over one, we find all this really cool stuff, all these other great films that he did, that he wrote. I want to know more about this cat, man.
Yeah, well, he seems very interesting. Just the fact that he came out of Dallas, was in the Navy during World War II, was a combat photographer. God knows what he saw or what he shot. I don't know. I haven't been able to find that yet. After the war, he goes into studying drama, working as an actor and as a stage manager for plays and stuff. So very interesting background. Made a lot of industrial films, shot a lot of industrial films in the U.S. after the war. Started to work with special effects. I don't think the special effects part went very far. I don't see any movies where he's got the credit for special effects necessarily. But he certainly started to write a lot of sci-fi stuff. Just very interesting. In fact, we're going to talk about Cyborg 2087, and you mentioned the Human Duplicators. I feel like the Human Duplicators is very similar to me for Cyborg 2087 as far as style and tone.
Yeah, I agree. I think there are some tonal similarities between the two that I can't remember. Was the Human Duplicators released with, that was one of the double features, right?
Yes, it was released with Mutiny in Space.
Right.
And he wrote both of those, and those films came out in 1964, whereas Cyborg 2087 came out in 1966.
Right, a couple years later. But I wonder if those two would have been a better double feature. I remember or at least I struggled a little bit with having the Human Duplicators and the other one together. I don't see a lot of thematic connections, but these two would be great.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I would love for a theater to put on that double feature. Sure. I'd go check that out for sure.
Now, I'm sure I probably brought it up. Have you seen Destination Inner Space?
I have, and I love it.
Okay.
I think barely. I think we've barely touched on it. I think you and I have had a few conversations, but I don't think we've done a deep dive as far as an episode or a deep conversation. But yeah, I really like it.
It's one that I've talked about here on the show with Christopher Page and Steve Sullivan years ago. And it's so good. It is so the monster in that is phenomenal. But there are other movies in his filmography that I have not seen. I want to see Dimension 5 now. I've not seen that one. That's one that's got my attention at this point.
Yeah, it's streaming. I started to watch it the other day, and it seems like it has a little bit more money involved than Cyborg 2087. It's got I only watched the first 20 minutes. It has a Mission Impossible kind of vibe to it.
Okay.
And it's got Jeffrey Hunter in it in the lead.
The original Captain Pike, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah, for sure. And that's one thing that's interesting. And also with Cyborg 2087 is there are some Star Trek crossovers as far as actors go, which is really interesting. I don't know if that was by accident or if some people were watching these sci-fi films while they were planning Star Trek. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, I need to know more about the production of some of these movies. I feel like these films have slipped through the cracks a little bit in some ways. We have so much documentation, and there's always more being found about the Universal monster movies. There's a lot of work happening with John Gore, and now that he owns Hammer Films, bringing out material that has either been lost or never been seen before. Yeah, those are two different things. And there's a lot of areas here. William Castle gets a deep dive every once in a while, but usually only as genre stuff. I want to do a deep dive into the Arthur C. Pierce and the 60s sci-fi that he produced or not produced, but wrote, that he's responsible for, as well as some of the other movies of this era. I want to know more about 60s sci-fi. I can tell you about 50s, but 60s sci-fi seems to be in this weird kind of spot that I want to know more about.
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking the same thing. It's like the 50s and the 70s have real standout sci-fi, but the 60s, especially from the US, not so much, especially when we're talking about these mid-level or lower budget productions. Yep. All of these films that we've been talking about recently, they were completely unknown to me a year ago, 2 years ago. And it's interesting. I think part of it is the fact that they were lower budget, and the fact that the companies that produced them seem to not be around for very long. And they seem to get gobbled up in mergers and acquisitions of IP, and it's just vanished to time. And I guess some of the good is with a lot of streaming services, a lot of this, I don't like the term, but content is getting rediscovered and put out there for people to find, which is great. Still not as fun as going to the video store, but I'm glad that there are avenues for people to find these films. I've been thrilled to find them myself.
Yeah, I think that's how you've found a lot of these. I think you've told us about just going through Tubi and just seeing what's there.
Yeah, Tubi, Plex, Pluto, even the library services, Hoopla.
Yeah. Yeah, every time I find or discover a new to me streaming service, the first thing I do is start going through the weird stuff, trying to find stuff from the 50s and 60s, because you know that stuff is usually cheaper. And this conversation actually makes me wonder if maybe that's part of the reason why some of the stuff isn't as well known as well, because a lot of the earlier stuff from the 50s has fallen into the public domain through whatever reason. In the 70s, copyright law was different. 60s is in this weird spot. Did it fall into public domain? Did it get acquired by somebody else? That sort of thing. So maybe that's part of it too. There's an argument to be made that the only reason Night of the Living Dead became as big as it did is because there was no copyright and it got massive distribution because of it. So that's not saying it's not a good film. It's an incredible film. But the fact that it was in the public domain made it very easy for it to be spread around the world in a way that, say, some of the other movies around that time maybe didn't or couldn't. So maybe that's part of it too. I don't know. Just speculating.
Yeah. It's interesting. With Cyborg 2087, it was produced by United Pictures Corporation, and they only existed as its own entity in the mid-60s. From what I can see, they made 9 or 10 films. They're all genre films. And it's my understanding that at that time, a lot of TV stations were broadcasting old movies in black and white, but the real push was for color. And the people behind UPC figured that they could produce low-budget movies in color they might get a theatrical release, but with the real desire of broadcast syndication. So in a lot of ways, I feel like they were ahead of their time, maybe a little too far ahead of their time in trying to make movies that would sell to television.
Okay.
In fact, I think maybe that's part of the reason these movies have been lost too, is the fact that maybe they had a limited theatrical run, but it was mainly for syndication. When I think about it, when I watch these movies, it makes me think about streaming services that, especially early on when Netflix and other streamers were producing their own movies and TV shows that weren't necessarily up to quote unquote Hollywood standards of a big movie, but they were made specifically for their streamers. And UPC, if they existed today, they could be like the Hallmark channel for sci-fi, and maybe they would have been a huge hit.
Oh man, we need that. I want that to happen. Somebody make that happen. Yeah. You talk about the streaming services, I immediately think of, was it Quibi? That was like the 2-minute long shorts, whatever network that folded within a year.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And they even tried to have Anna Kendrick do a series over there and all that. And yeah, it just did not go. Sometimes the streaming services don't work.
Yeah, right.
But I can think of other attempts. There was one of the many Hammer film revivals was a streamed movie with Corey Feldman. I forget what it was called. Rave to the Grave was a Return of the Living Dead sequel. It was something like that. It was not good. But yeah, maybe, that's what happened to UPC. Just not in the right time for, again, content. God, I hate to use that word when it comes to film, when it comes to art. And I know on a business level, that's what it is, but it's art, man. It's film. Come on, man.
For sure.
I do a deep dive myself. Listeners, if you know of any resources, if there's been any biographies, books, YouTube videos, documentaries, whatever, any other content perhaps, let us know, because I want to know more. Want to know more about this stuff. Anyway, Michael Rennie is in this.
Yes.
And he's phenomenal.
He is. Let's get exactly. Yes. We get back to the beginning of Cyborg 2087 when in the distant future of guess the year 2087, they're sending someone back in time as they roll back the time circuits with the beautiful dials and switches of the 1960s in their 2087 control room, which I love. There's a weird retrofuturism to this movie.
Yes.
That is limited by the budget, but it's like this weird combination of switches and dials of 1960s with really cheap sets, but lighting that reminds me of the original series of Star Trek.
Yes.
The race is on to get Garth A7 to go back in time to find a scientist to save the future. And in the process, these police or military, pseudo-military guys in suits come in to try to stop the process. And just as they come into the control room, Garth A7 goes back in time. It's lovely.
Transfer machine. I love that time. It opens with that time transfer. It's so good.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like the design of the time capsule. It's cool. It's not like anything else you've ever seen. And I love the fact that like when he first reappears in the past, it's in this old West ghost town.
I loved that too. I was so taken off guard. I've been avoiding watching or learning too much about this movie until we were going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So when he gets back in the past and he's in this old West ghost town, I'm like, oh, I thought he was going back to what was then modern day for the film. There was a scuffle. Did they go too far back? No, it's just an old West ghost town. That's all.
Yeah.
But it's a sign of a bait and switch that kind of keeps you guessing a little bit. And I loved that too about this movie. Smart.
Yeah, there's some things about this movie that are very clever and very smart and entertaining. I came to the conclusion, I've watched this movie 3 times now. All of the good things in this movie are so good that it overcomes the things about this movie that aren't so good. But starting in the beginning with that confusion of where in time is he, it reminded me of some Quantum Leap episodes where with Dr. Beckett, where you're like, he thinks he's in one time, but it turns out that he's in a stage play or in a barn or something, and it's a different time. And I thought that was a really great gimmick in this movie. And I know that I've read online, some people are disgruntled back at it now, looking at them using sets and places that were used for TV shows. But in the reality of this movie, I think it's great.
I think it's really good. And I think today we're spoiled. I think today we are spoiled by CG and big budgets. Beth and I finally started watching the new season of Star Trek Strange New Worlds the other day. We watched the first episode. We know we're like many weeks behind. And I don't want to get into too many spoilers, but there is a lot in that show that, while gorgeous, and I really enjoyed that episode, it felt bloated by the let's dazzle them. Let's give them as many special effects as possible. Let's do as many slow-mo close-ups of the horses galloping on an alien planet somewhere. I'm not spoiling anything. That's in the previews. Let's do this lush, grand, blow all of our special effects money on the first episode of the new season. We're spoiled now by science fiction because people can, that is something that can happen. Back then, it couldn't.
Yeah.
And I think back then, I don't know, whenever I watch a movie like this, it's not hard for me to put myself in that mindset of, okay, this is pre-Star Trek, this is pre-Star Wars, they're working with a budget of $300. I don't know how much I spent on this movie.
What I've been able to find is that they spent about $100,000 making this film.
The only thing I would have changed is a particular sound effect that could have been done with the technology at the time. I have no problem with the context and the reality of this movie. The science fiction elements work for me, and I'm okay with that. It didn't take anything away from it. So I think when we look back at these older science fiction movies, sometimes it's easy to say, yeah, these are cheesy, yeah, these are creaky, yeah, they just reuse TV sets or whatever. But put yourself in the mindset of back then, man, and what's a whole new game? It's awesome.
Yeah, and also in this era of lots of CG, and some of the technology is great. The whole LED volume as backgrounds instead of green screens and all that. It's amazing. But with all the CG and now the rise of AI slop garbage everywhere, it makes me appreciate physical reality in TV shows and movies more. Physical effects, people in real places, regardless of it being a set of an old ghost town or not. There's something about reality that just can't be matched. And it allows your imagination to fill in what you don't see. And I feel like Destination Interspace and this movie, they give you enough fantastic elements and story points and actors that are giving good performances that it allows your imagination to play with what isn't there. And it works really well here.
And they give you enough.
Yeah, just enough.
The opening credits is on this awesome painting that I would love to get my hands on.
Right.
Of a futuristic city. Now, obviously, we're not going to see this futuristic city. The only thing we see in the future is the time machine setup. That's it. But we've got this futuristic city with the opening credits, so we are being told, yeah, this is the future. Yeah, this is science fiction. This is what that world is like. That's enough setup. If you're paying attention, that's all you got. That's all you need. That's all you get, but that's all you need.
And the combination of that painting and the little bit that we've had with the control room and the time machine is taken to a different level with Paul Dunlap's music. The more times I've watched this movie, the more I realize that I really love the score.
Heck yeah, you cannot go wrong with Paul Dunlap's music. I'll tell you that. I am a huge fan of everything this guy's done that I've heard so far. And I know some of his music has been used as library music in other films, which we'll talk about.
Well, and he has a ton of credits.
Yeah.
Hundreds of things. Going all the way from way back to 1950 with the Baron of Arizona, all the way to Gorp in 1980. He's got westerns in here, comedies, sci-fi, all kinds of stuff. And some of these I've seen, like Target Earth, but I had no idea that he did some music for some Three Stooges films.
Right? Well, even the Baron of Arizona, that's a Vincent Price flick. So he's always, from the very beginning, been dancing in the genre. Now, granted, Baron of Arizona is a Western, but still, he's played in our genre and seems to have had a good time doing it. When he came back to do Gorp, that was after he had basically retired from doing film scores and was working more on piano pieces, wasn't it?
I don't know. Fill me in.
Well, my understanding is that he started out wanting to do music. That was always what he wanted to be. He wanted to be a concert hall composer or do opera and that sort of thing, and ended up going to Hollywood when he was 31 and started working in the film industry instead. Baron of Arizona is a Sam Fuller film. So he ended up working with Sam Fuller on a few other films as well. But yeah, he ended up doing a lot of genre stuff. He did some of my favorites, Teenage Werewolf, Teenage Frankenstein.
Nice.
I love those. He did basically retire at one point, but continued to work. He continued to write piano concertos and was working on an opera at one point. And then he came back to do Gorp in 1980. And I'm not sure what the connection was there, why he did that. I've not seen Gorp.
No,
think
me
it's
either.
kind of like one of those wacky, put a bunch of young people in a summer camp kind of comedies. I don't know. But I want to know more about this guy too. He's no longer with us. He passed in 2010. But he did a ton of stuff in Portland Expose, which I have seen. It's a film noir film.
Wow.
He did that, which I really like. I'm just looking at what his...
The Angry Red Planet. I see that in front of me. And I love that too. That has great music.
Black Zoo is another really good one. It's a horror film with Michael Goff. Really good. For Skills of Jonathan Drake, which I've talked about here on the show years ago with filmmaker Joe Sherlock. So good. I want a definitive collection of his music so that I can just kind of listen to it, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Good stuff. It's really good. Frankenstein 1970. Come on.
Nice.
Come on. But yeah, he did a lot of Westerns, because I think a lot of people did a lot of Westerns, no matter what part of the film industry you were in the 50s. That's just kind of how you made your money. That was your bread and butter. But he fortunately graced us with Invisible Invaders and just some great stuff.
Yeah, and it seems like a lot of the people involved with United Pictures Corporation were people that they had a lot of people that had a lot of working experience in low budget Westerns and sci-fi and TV, a lot of, career professionals. They may not have been glamorous or celebrities, but they all knew what they were doing. And I think that comes across in these movies and Cyborg 2087. Despite the budget, it's professionally made.
Yeah.
The director of it, Franklin Adrian, who's one of the founding people of UPC, he started out way back shooting Republic Pictures serials.
Yeah, doing the serials and such, which is still a blind spot for me. I've watched a lot of them over the years, I've played a lot of them on the stream over the years, but it's still an area that I don't know as much about as I would like. But he started with Commando Cody, excuse me, but did a bunch of those.
Yeah. I am really fascinated by the whole existence of Poverty Row and serial films. And it's an area that I have not invested enough time. Every time I touch on it, it's always people who started their careers. And I have a sense of it, but I haven't really gone in and really explored it. But I definitely need to.
Because I think as Monster Kids, the entry point for Poverty Row is typically Lugosi.
Sure. Yeah.
Through a lot of the Lugosi films. But there's so much more.
Yeah.
There's so much more. So, okay, I don't know anything about this movie, but I'm looking at his filmography, and Adrian directed a movie called The Nun and the Sergeant. That better be a screwball comedy, because this sounds awesome.
Yeah, for sure. He, like Pierce, also had a career in the military. It looks like he was a Marine. He also shot military training films, was part of the photographic unit at Quantico. So he's another guy who comes from a military background of shooting efficiently, professionally, and quick, which it seems like those people with that kind of discipline seem to do well at this end of the budget spectrum, it seems like, in making movies.
We've skipped all over here. We don't spend a lot of time. We spend enough time in the Old West Town.
Yeah.
And not only are we tricked that maybe he went too far back in time, we're also tricked that maybe he's a bad guy. Maybe he's a villain. He turns a gun on a dog, man.
Right.
That's like Criminal 101.
Yeah.
I was really struggling. It's like, oh, please tell me he didn't. No, please don't.
No, right. I don't know if I would have recovered if Klaatu would have killed a dog.
Yeah.
I think it would have broken my internal circuitry if that had been the case. I would not have finished this movie in probably would have been stunned the rest of the day.
I probably would have been, this is just exploitation. I don't want to watch this now. Which,
yeah.
I'm an animal guy. People know that. You're an animal guy. Shoot, we're both vegetarians. we care about the animals, sometimes their fate more than the fate of the people in these movies. So I can say, spoiler alert, and I think it's okay to spoil this one, and I've already given the warning anyway. The dog recovers. The dog is fine.
Yes. In fact, Garth A7, aka Michael Rennie, he's a cyborg from the future, but he is programmed to not be able to kill in the past because he doesn't want to. He wants to minimize his impact on the timeline and future events, which I also thought was very cool for a sci-fi movie of this time period.
Yeah.
Everything breaks down if you think too hard about time travel in movies. But I love it when they play with the consequences of their actions. And this movie does that. Arthur C. Pierce wrote some very thought-provoking issues dealing with time travel. So, yes, Michael Rennie, he can't kill. He can stun. He knocks people out with his ray gun. Granted, there's no visual effect to it. There's only a sound effect.
And that's the one thing I would change. That's the one thing I would change. I am not a fan of the cartoony ray gun sound effect. That's the one thing. And within the technology to do it, they had the tech. They could have changed it. I think it's silly.
Yeah, it is. I wish that they could have done way better in 1966. It seems like something from, I don't know, 1946.
It's like out of the Looney Tunes. It takes me
It's a
out.
little silly. And there are a few moments that I'm sure we're going to get to as we continue on our journey through Cyborg 2087 that despite some of the great stuff in it, there are other things that take you out of it. And that's certainly one of them. So back to our cyborg in the Old West town. While he's there, Uncle Pete and his nephew, Sam Gilmore, roll up in their red Jeep to talk about the past and to take in the sights. And Uncle Pete is played by Chubby Johnson.
I love him.
Love him. He's so great. He's so hilarious. He's one of those actors that had a lot of bit parts in westerns of all kinds. I think he was like in Bonanza and Support Your Local Sheriff, Gunsmoke, all kinds of westerns. And here he's playing an old coot, reflecting on the good old days of when things were better.
Yep.
And there's some hilarious dialogue I don't think it was meant to be as funny as it is, but it's just the way it's written. It's hilarious, where he's talking with his nephew about how folks these days, youngins, don't appreciate the good old days. And his nephew's Sam Gilmore saying something about, I appreciate the comforts of a modern city. It's hilarious.
Chubby Johnson's one of these guys who definitely benefited from the fact that they made so many Westerns in the 50s. He's in all of them, it seems like.
Yeah.
And he's great. He's just so good. He's so good.
Talking about it now, it reminds me of Back to the Future 3, where in the Old West town in the bar, there's a few different character actors we all knew from TV shows and commercials that happened to be in the Old West town. And that's what you get with Chubby Johnson as Uncle Pete and also Wendell Corey as the sheriff, who's also just wonderful in this picture.
Oh, he's so good. All the side characters are great. I love it.
Yeah, it gives you, and that's one level of this movie that I think works way better than a lot of people appreciate, is the fact that it gives you a real sense of place. Desert City is the name of the town, which is as generic as heck, but in Desert City, it is populated by some real characters, from the gas station attendants to the old couple who stop to get gas, the cool teenagers who just want to have fun and dance a lot.
Boy. That was another scene. This one is not aging as well, but
yeah.
I've seen Teenage Werewolf. I know they put those musical numbers in. I understand.
Yeah, and what I also found hilarious about them is they come in later in the picture. Is all of their dialogue feels like it was written by people older than them.
Yeah,
I don't know why any of the young actors didn't stop Arthur C. Pierce or Frank Adrian and said, "We don't talk like this anymore." It all sounds very 50s, even though we're in the mid 60s.
Yeah.
So anyhow, boy, we're jumping all over the time loop here.
That's fine.
Yeah. I hope we're giving you guys all an interesting adventure to Desert City in 1966.
Yeah.
So Garth A7, he gets past Uncle Pete and Sam and steals their Jeep and heads into town. And he's on a mission to get to Futures Industries Incorporated.
Sure. Why not?
Right. His mission is to stop, Dr. Marks from developing radio telepathy, technology he's working on that he thinks will lead to a better future. Mm-hmm. But in Garth A7's future, radio telepathy is the tool they use to enslave the human race, and the cyborgs rule.
So we got to stop him.
Got to stop him. So we go into Desert City, and all the nighttime photography is really great. It was much more impressive and looked better than I expected it to. It almost reminded me of American Graffiti.
Ooh, okay.
You had the neon lights, you have the classic cars. Nobody's cruising per se, but that was the vibe I was picking up.
All right, yeah, I could see that. That tracks.
So Garth goes to try to find out where Futures Industries is. He stops at the gas station. The gas station attendants in this town where everybody knows your name realizes that Garth is not from here and he's driving Sam Gilmore's Jeep. So they call the sheriff, and that's where we get Wendell Corey as the sheriff, and he is a character.
Oh, I love him. He's so good.
He's so good, and he has a ton of screen appearances. What I did not realize until afterwards, and I was stunned to find out, was that he was a former president of the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences.
Ah! Really?
He was also, and he was also a board member of the Screen Actors Guild. Later on, he was on the City Council of Santa Monica. But playing a tough, no-nonsense sheriff in this low-budget sci-fi film, I would never have guessed any of those things were possibilities. Another thing that surprised me is that Wendell Corey has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Certainly is for this film, right? Or maybe his role in the Astro Zombies, yeah?
You know what? Astro Zombies was his last screen appearance, I believe. For me, that's enough. I want to see more actors who give performances as memorable as his, regardless of the budget of the movie, get a star on the Walk of Fame. Come on, who's with me?
Yeah, I'm in. Let's do it. Make it happen.
What also stunned me was that he was only 54 when he died.
Oh.
And looking at him in this movie, I would have guessed he was 64 in Cyborg 2087.
I was going to say the same thing. He seems so much older in this film.
He seems so, he just has that old cowboy vibe. I guess he had, he was an alcoholic, drank a lot. That probably led to his early demise. But I'm glad he left us with some memorable screen appearances like this.
For sure. And he also, Michael Rennie apparently did a Hitchcock project at one point, as did Wendell Corey. Wendell Corey was in Rear Window.
Yeah. So. Yeah. It is stunning how there are Star Trek connections and there are Hitchcock connections all going through Desert City and Cyborg 2087.
Yeah. It's nuts. But when you're a working actor, you take the job, right? And if it's Hitchcock, great. If it's this low budget science fiction film, awesome.
And on both sides of the camera, too.
Yeah.
Actors as well as behind the scenes. In fact, Frank Keller, the editor of this movie, edited some episodes of Star Trek, but he also was the editor of Bullet, which probably has one of the finest car chases of all time put to film.
Wow.
Which is a real achievement in editing.
That's nuts. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Huh.
In fact, he won an Oscar for Bullet for Best Film Editing. So you got an Academy Award winner here, folks, before he's reached his prime.
One of my other favorite characters in this is the journalist.
Yeah.
JC, played by Harry Carey Jr., another wonderful character actor, the son of actor Harry Carey, who also did a lot of character roles. I like JC a lot. He's bored. He's sitting around the police station. I wish something would happen. And then all this stuff starts happening and he becomes part of the story and he's following around and everything. I like him too. He's just a fun presence in this film too.
There's a lot of great bit parts and characters.
Yeah.
It's one more thing that makes this movie worth watching, regardless of its shortcomings. So as we move forward in the plot, we have Garth A7 on his mission to find Professor Marks. But the future isn't done with Garth A7 and trying to preserve their future. 2 more cyborgs are sent back, 2 tracer agents, to stop Garth A7.
So the word tracer really caught my attention.
Yeah.
Because Full Moon Entertainment, the video store mainstay of, or Full Moon Features, excuse me, of the video store mainstay of my time working at Blockbuster Video and Video Library and all that, had a series of time-traveling cop movies called Trancers, starring Tim Thomerson. And so whenever they kept talking about a tracer coming back, I'm like, I wonder, I know in the Full Moon film, they justify why they call them Trancers, but everything in a Full Moon film has to be justified for some reason or another. So I don't know if that's, it's just a weird connection my mind made. Probably not really something Charles Band and Company were thinking of, but yeah, whenever they talk about the Tracers, I'm thinking, okay, well now we got Tracers and Trancers and yeah.
There's a lot of things about Cyborg 2087.
Oh yeah, that's the least obvious.
No, but seems that it was an influence on a lot of other filmmakers. I haven't seen anything official of anyone admitting anything, but there are many things about this film that I'm sure I've seen in other pictures after the fact. The most glaring, and we haven't mentioned it yet, is Terminator and Terminator 2.
Oh, yeah.
There are many plot points and things about this movie that if I ever had the good fortune of meeting James Cameron and had the opportunity to ask him questions, I wouldn't be asking about The Abyss or Titanic or Avatar. I'd be asking him about, did you see Cyborg 2087? That would be the question I'd ask him.
Cameron coming up, getting a start with Roger Corman stuff.
Right.
He had to have been aware of the low budget end of things. And I believe the people who did Cyborg 2087, didn't they do one of the Women of the Prehistoric Planet films, which Corman did re-edit into something else?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah. So James Cameron, if you're listening, call in and let us know if you've seen Cyborg 2087. Yeah, I don't think he's listening, but still.
He should be. I think it would do him good to listen to Bride of Monster Kid Radio.
We're going to find where he lives and stand outside his house with a boom box like John Cusack playing an episode of Right Before Somebody Calls the Cops on Us. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, I've been a fan of his, especially decades ago. I really was influenced by his movies like The Abyss and Terminator 2.
Sure.
I think like a lot of people our age who are into movies. Based on the interviews I've seen of him, I could totally see. It's not a huge leap of faith to say or imagine him watching this going, there's some great ideas here, but I can do it better.
Sure.
That to me is not a huge leap for a guy with his ego and skill set.
Yeah. That's what part of the genesis of Avatar, right? Wanted to out Star Wars.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah. I could see that. I could see that for sure. But yeah, lots of Terminator in this. Lots of Terminator.
Yes. The fact that he needs to stop a scientist from doing his invention that would cause the enslavement of humanity by the machines seems right on the nose.
Sure.
Another interesting tie between Terminator and this movie is Roger George, who we've talked about when we talked about the Human Duplicators. Roger George was involved in the making of the special effects for this, as well as the Terminator.
Oh, okay.
He did a ton of stuff. Also, like the other people involved with this production, a real journeyman who's worked on tons and tons of things, mostly on the lower end of the budget. Roger George is no longer with us, but there is his company that's still around providing special effects equipment in Hollywood.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we have our tracers following Garth A7. Another thing about the tracers is they are no Robert Patrick. They are no T-1000.
But they do run a lot.
Run is a Run is an interesting choice of words. I think jog is more like it.
Okay.
In fact, I showed this to Emmett, my oldest son, who's taken an interest in these films as I've continued to explore them. And we think it would be a great hoot to go to a Comic-Con and dress up as the Tracers in this and to see how obscure they are and who might recognize them.
Oh, that'd be fun. We get you guys down to Monster Bash or something.
Right?
You could go pick that up right away. Yeah.
All you need are some military olive drab jumpsuits, some silver wrestling boots, and some shiny silver suspenders and ray guns. Oh, and helmets. You got to have some goofy old school motorcycle helmets, or they reminded me of baseball batting helmets, painted green. And you are a Tracer. The Tracers, they're played by two career stuntmen. Dale Van Sickle is Tracer 1, Troy Melton is Tracer 2, and unfortunately, they both move like old stuntmen. If they would have played these parts when they were maybe half the age, it would have really been impressive. Yeah. And that takes you a little bit out of the movie to think that these super strong cyborgs of the future are lumbering, middle-aged former football players. It can give you a chuckle. Don't let it stop you from watching the movie and enjoying it. And
One
don't take
does
away.
Come crashing through a window, though. So
Well, I do. And the one thing that is also interesting is they seem to have some logic problems. It must have something to do with that advanced circuitry of the future. There's one part where they could easily go around a car easily, but they push it instead to show their strength. And also, when they come, one comes through a window, one comes through the door. They probably both could have gone through the door. When they're chasing Garth A7, instead of going around a electric generator, they climb over the generator. I'm sure that they were trying to make things more exciting, but it just seemed silly and implausible. Anyway, Tracer number 1 was Dale Van Sickle, as I said. And what's amazing about him is that he was one of the best stuntmen of his day. He was one of the founders of the Stuntman Association, one of its first presidents. Yeah, Stuntmen's Association of Motion Pictures. He also has some interesting credits. We talked about Hitchcock. He did stunts for North by Northwest. He did stunts for The Searchers, Spartacus. His biggest claim to fame that people know him for was that in the old Adventures of Superman, he was the Superman who ducks when a gun is thrown. That's him, that clip that everybody has seen and had a good laugh at.
Okay.
His career started, his first film was Duck Soup with the Marx Brothers. And that was like in 1933. So his career spanned decades. He was a great football player. He was the first All-American for the Florida Gators in the 1920s. Very physically capable. Except that at this point, when we're seeing him in this movie, that he's getting near the end of his acting career and his stunts career as being on camera.
Yeah.
He would die, a little over a decade after this film came out. But it was fun to learn about him. And even though he's lumbering through this, that he had quite a career.
That's awesome. We have another Star Trek connection. We have one of Mudd's women in this.
Yes, we do. She's great.
And I understand it's the 60s, gender issues being the imbalance or whatever. I don't know if I'm a huge fan of completely taking away her agency and basically free will the way Garth does, but he doesn't take advantage of her in a physical way, which I did appreciate, which I think walks that line. So I wasn't completely turned off by it. Basically, he implants these thoughts of you're going to help me and do everything I want you to do into her to help him get to Professor Marx. She's one of the doctors. She's one of the scientists working with Dr. Zeller. Was that the name?
Yes, played by Warren Stevens, who was also had a Star Trek appearance.
Yeah. So lots of Star Trek. And this is Star Trek time, right? This is late 60s. So yeah, we're getting in. What's the 60th anniversary of Star Trek this year, for crying out loud? But yeah, she ends up getting involved and enlisted in helping Garth in getting to Professor Marx. And he's got to do it right now because the next morning he's doing a presentation about the radio telepathy. That's right. Radio telepathy. So we got to do it tonight. We got to do it now. Time is of the essence, no pun intended. And he doesn't spend a lot of time trying to convince Dr. Mason, played by Karen Steele, to help him, and also Dr. Zeller to help him get to where they need to get to Professor Marx. And On the one hand, yeah, I suppose it's a cheap sci-fi way of getting over the "you have to believe me, I'm from the future" kind of moment by just basically overriding her mind. But on the other hand, you have to do that to the one woman character in the movie.
Yeah, there are some gender issues here, folks. She's a doctor, but she's like the assistant to Marks. And her love interest is, what is his name? Dr. Zeller, but he also analyzes her. Later on, when he's trying to chase down Garth A7, they're at his house. He's the one with a teenage daughter, and she and her friends are having a groovy time dancing in the living room for what feels like forever. But when he goes to chase Garth to try to help, he's like, Sharon, you stay here with the kids. I'll take care of this.
Yeah.
Which allows her to come in later and help out. But there are a lot of times where she's marginalized. So you have Garth A7 using a radio telepathy to control her thoughts, to try to get her to help him. But also the men of her own time are like pushing her to the margins, which is a shame.
But it
is of its
part
time.
of the era. Yeah.
Yeah. And Karen Steele is great.
Oh,
like
she
plays it so straight, and she's very captivating. She's really easy to watch. Her performance is good. She's definitely one of those people that appeared here and there and everywhere on TV in the 60s. Everywhere from being on Rawhide in an episode with Clint Eastwood to being on Get Smart and Star Trek. She's another one who had been in Westerns. You know, I see Maverick on here. So she had quite a career, and she's really good here. I really liked her performance.
She's great.
And also
really liked her.
And also to that point of Garth proving that he is who he says he is, has a scene where he pulls back his shirt, telling Dr. Zeller to remove this chip in him that the tracers can detect. And he also pulls up his sleeve to indicate that he's a cyborg, showing these metal rods down his arm, which is also very reminiscent of the Terminator films, where Schwarzenegger, as the Terminator, pulls the skin off his arm to show his metal skeleton. Seems very familiar here. Granted, Cyborg 2087 is not nearly as gory or bloody or violent as the Terminator films. So if you want to introduce the kids to some fun sci-fi time-traveling adventure, I'd go with Cyborg 2087 over the Terminator.
Sure. I do want to say about Karen Steele's performance, about her character.
Yeah.
Even though I was a little disappointed by her being put to the sidelines the way that she was, it is through her action at the end of the movie that we're able to get to the end of the movie. She is able to figure out where Garth ended up to help at the end.
Yeah.
So she does come in clutch there at the end. So I will give the character that.
Yeah.
Or the story that.
And she is integral to the whole film working. And her arc, as well as Garth A7's, are probably the two that change the most.
Yeah.
That they evolve, they learn stuff, and get to show more range by the end. Yeah, the only thing about her performance that killed me was at the climax of the film, she's been taken prisoner by one of the tracers. And she's strung up by rope. And they overuse her so much. It's necessary to draw the attention of Garth and Zeller and to let them know where she is and what's going on. But man, if I never hear Karen Steele scream again, that would be okay. Her scream, I shouldn't say she screams many times. The recording of her scream is reused many times.
Yeah, you can tell.
Yeah, and it's rough. It's a little rough.
Yeah, you can tell. Yeah.
And as I'm airing a complaint, I'll throw a couple more in there that bothered me a little bit about the movie. We've already talked about the way the tracers move and some of their choices and the lack of logic. There's some padding in this movie where they kind of stretch things out, I think, to get to that theatrical length or desired run length. The teenagers dancing, I think, was fun, and I enjoyed it, but it probably could have been half as long. Some of the running and the chases seem a little stretched out. And this probably wasn't an issue at the time when it came out, but it was for me, is the fact that Michael Rennie's stunt person, his stunt double, is tall and lean like Michael Rennie, but looks nothing like Michael Rennie.
Yeah.
In fact, I thought when I saw him on the roof, I'm like, is that Scott Pelley, formerly of CBS News?
Okay.
That's what he looked like. And the fight sequence, there's the climax of the movie has Garth A7 fighting Tracer number 1. And the whole thing, it ends up back in the old West town, which I love. The whole fight is like a fight from a TV show from an old Western, where they're hiding the stunt double behind fencing and material and posts. And I really wish that they had had an extra day or two and were able to break that up with a more dynamic fight, with more shot selection and edits. It feels like the whole thing was shot from the same location. That the camera was locked down. They shot everything wide. They shot everything medium and just cut it together in a fight that lasts. It's probably only 5 or 6 minutes, but it feels like 15 minutes. So those are my gripes.
Well, my biggest gripe, like I said, was the sound effect. But I do want to talk about something sound related here. I feel like we're nearing the end of our conversation here, and I don't want to let this go. I want you to listen to the music.
Sheriff, one of them jumped from that roof all the way over to that roof. You out of your mind? No, sir. I never saw such a leap in all my life. There he is.
It's very familiar because it is from Night of the Living Dead.
No kidding.
Now, Night of the Living Dead came out 2 years later.
Yeah.
I heard this music, and it happens twice in the film. One when the Tracers are shooting at Michael Rennie at the power plant, and then towards the end as well at the old town, there's a finale. You hear this music happen a couple of times. The first time I heard it, I thought, that sounds very familiar. It's either from Dawn of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead, or Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Wow. I didn't pick up on that.
So the second time, I narrowed it down to a Romero film, and I knew both Night and Dawn used a lot of library music.
Yeah.
As did Plan 9, but it sounded too serious to be a Plan 9 piece. Plus, Plan 9 came out beforehand, so I don't know if Paul Dunlap composed the music for this and then it entered into a library, or it was pulled from an existing library and supplemented Paul Dunlap's score. Either way, Romero got his hands on it for Night of the Living Dead. And at the very beginning of Night of the Living Dead, basically right after Johnny does the whole, "They're coming for you now."
They're coming for you, Barbara.
Stop it! You're acting like a child.
They're coming for you. Look, there comes one of them now.
And again, I want to know the background. I want to know, man. We know so much about Night of the Living Dead, and I actually just got my hands on a new book about Night of the Living Dead and the production and its impact and all that, because there's always new things to learn about it, I feel like. But again, Paul Dunlap, this movie, Cyborg 2087, the 60s sci-fi, that wasn't on TV, I want to know more about. What were the choices? Where did this music come from? How did that happen? And it's music that I've always associated with zombies.
Yeah.
But here it is in a science fiction film, and it works.
Huh. Wild. Yeah,
it's fascinating to me.
Oh, the whole thing is fascinating. That's one reason I'm so glad we're having this opportunity to talk about this movie, because I don't think enough people know about it, and it has so many interesting people and plot points and story. There's so many interesting things that weave through this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And despite its warts, it's a real gem that I think that more people should give it an opportunity to see. We've talked about how Karen Steele and Michael Rennie, their characters have arcs, and also she brings out the humanity in him in the end. At one point, he's willing to sacrifice her to save the future. That the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few moment. But as we continue to hear her screams, between Professor Marks talking to Garth realizes that he needs to go back and save her. And that's how we get to that really long, drawn-out fight in the old stable. And at the end, there's a real touching moment before Michael Rennie goes back to the future with Professor Marks with him, where he's consoling Karen Steele and admitting that he used radio telepathy on her. And it's a really touching, sweet, with more emotional depth than I think than people expect in a film like this.
Yeah, he comes clean about what he did, but there's also that tragedy where she thinks she's in love with him now because of the connection they have. And really almost gut-wrenching, because he's thinking about how I'm going to go to the future that doesn't exist anymore, but I can't stay here. I can't take you with me because where I'm going isn't there anymore. It's really heartbreaking. And if it was anybody other than Michael Rennie, who's a phenomenal actor, I don't know if I would have bought it, but I totally bought it with him. Rennie, okay, as a monster kid, my entry point to Rennie's filmography was Day the Earth Stood Still, of course.
Which I'm sure is, 95% of all moviegoers. He will always be Klaatu.
But he's done so much more. One of my favorite things that he's done is an episode of the TV show Climax where he plays Jekyll and Hyde. It's so good. In fact, listeners, stay tuned. I think I'm going to put that up on the stream here within the next week or so, just to give you something new to watch if you haven't seen it already. He's really good in that. Everything that I've seen him in since, and granted, it's not a lot, I've really enjoyed it. Even the movie that we watched, the Paul Naschy film.
Yeah. Yeah. And in that film, he's not in his best health. In fact, even in this film, you can see that maybe age is catching up to him a bit. But he is such a great, and he has this interesting, enigmatic quality. It's easy to understand why he'd play a cyborg and an alien, but he does it with just such an interesting, reserved humanity that makes it really captivating.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of you listeners have seen The Day the Earth Stood Still. If you like Michael Rennie in that, I think you owe it to yourself to see him as Garth A7 in Cyborg 2087.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. He's really good in this. I'm going to put it up there with one of the definitive Rennie performances for us monster kids.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. Yeah.
Now, this movie, I saw it on streaming. I found it on YouTube, which the legality of that, questionable. I don't know if this has really fallen into the public domain or not. Like Matt was saying at the beginning of this, a lot of these movies ended up getting put into various collections that were used as collateral against loans for other productions and such. So there are a lot of movies from this era that the copyright's owned by a bank somewhere, some finance institute. And I don't know what the status is on this. That said, it is on Blu-ray, or at least it was at one point.
A few years ago, it looks like Kino Lorber put it out.
Yep.
I don't know if it's currently available. At this moment, in this time, it's streaming on Plex. It had been on Tubi. It seems to bounce around some, but it's out there. You guys can track it down and see it. We haven't talked much about Professor Marks other than where he's at in the movie. He's played by Edward Franz, who had a really long and storied career.
The thing that from outer
space. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. The Thing from Outer Space, The Ten Commandments, The Story of Ruth. And he gets a great final speech where all the military experts and generals are waiting in his laboratory, waiting for his presentation at the end of the film when he comes back from the future. And he tells them that he's no longer following this line of research and that it's not meant for military use. And he gives a nice little speech there.
Yeah. No, he's great. It's Thing from Another World. I don't know why we said From Outer Space. Thing from Another World.
Right.
Yeah. But no, it's phenomenal. Really good. His performance. I really liked all the performances in this. Karen Steele's performance, I think, is hampered by the role she was given through some of it and that repeated scream, of course. But otherwise, I think the performances are solid. The science fiction is of its era, and it works, with the exception of that silly ray gun sound effect. And even the way it ends, the final shot that we get, where it zooms in on the calendar showing us what year it is, and the painting, the drawing on the calendar is something very similar of the time capsule.
Oh, and I love the setup to that.
Yeah.
Our sheriff, Wendell Corey, with all his gravelly curmudgeonness, talking about how nothing happens in this sleepy little town, that I should have been a sheriff back in the old West, as he's looking at a Western magazine with a cowboy on the cover. And then he gets up and he looks out the window and he's reflecting on nothing ever happens here. And that's when they zoom into the calendar and you have a futuristic picture of a rocket ship in space.
Yep.
It is the cherry on top. It finishes this film really, really well.
It's really cool. And I've done some checking into this, and this was released in Italy. And the Italian one sheets makes this look like a romp in science in outer space. It's all science, outer space, spacemen shooting ray guns with a spaceship in the background. They call it Cyborg Anno 2087 over there. And it's cool artwork. Don't get me wrong. The Italians really knew how to make a cool lobby movie poster in this.
Inspired many poster artists for decades to come.
For sure. And I'm looking at this stuff and I'm like, I don't remember any of that happening in the movie, but boy, I want to see that movie now too.
Yeah, for sure.
I've got 5 or 6 people in spacesuits and helmets with big old laser rifles. It's awesome. Nothing like the movie at all.
Yeah. Yeah, this movie has a lot of great elements. It
really does.
If it wasn't for the, modest budget and tight schedule under which it was made, I think that it would probably have a classic status. There's enough there. It could have had one more draft and a little bit more money and time. I think this would be an exceptional picture. As it is, I think it's a really good picture, and I definitely recommend it to anybody who's interested in 60s sci-fi, time travel movies, Michael Rennie. It's all there. And despite its shortcomings, this movie deserves to be seen. I'd love to see it in a theater if that day ever comes.
Oh, man, I would love to see a really nice transfer of it. Like I said, I was watching it on YouTube, and the first listing on YouTube that I found, it looked great. It sounded great through the beginning credits, and then after that, there's no sound whatsoever. I don't know if that is a result of something. It might have been a copyright thing, might have been a bad upload, could have been my TV. I don't know. I did end up watching another one, and it was fine, but I'd like to find something even better.
Yeah, the last time I watched it, as I showed it to Emmett, was on Plex. And that appears to be a scan of the Blu-ray because it's in high def. It's really clean. Okay. It's amazingly clean. So much so that I could have sworn I saw Sam Pelly jumping from rooftops. Or Scott.
It does look like the Blu-ray is out of print at this point. So you're going to have to go to eBay or somewhere else to pick it up. I am very curious, though. I want to hear that commentary track if nothing else.
Yeah, for sure. And I would love it for more people to acknowledge this movie and talk about it. Yeah. There's so much more we want to learn about United Pictures Corporation. You've mentioned Arthur C. Pierce. He's definitely one of those people that I'd love to know more about. There's so many incredibly talented people that contributed to the genres we love that kind of seem lost. I think that it's the responsibility of all of us to remind people of what these people did and the great entertainment they made for us that's still around to this day.
Yeah, that still holds up.
Yeah.
The United Pictures Corporation did Castle of Evil, for crying out loud. That's another wonderful film. You got this one. You got Destination Inner Space. You got some great pictures, man.
Yeah, and ones I never knew about just a few years ago. And I don't think I'm alone in that. I think there's a lot of people who don't know these movies.
For sure.
Go out there, find them, watch them. Let us know what you think.
Yeah, please let us know. Shoot us an email, monsterkidradio@gmail.com, or call my voicemail line, 360-524-2484, and let me know what you think of Cyborg 2087. Or if you have any other information about Arthur C. Pierce or United Pictures Corporation, that would be awesome too, because I want to know more, man. The older I get, the more I watch these movies. Yes, I started out wanting to be a filmmaker, and someday I believe in my heart that Matt and I will get back to that. But I want to know more about the film history too. I want to know so much more. I feel like maybe I wouldn't have washed out of film school if there was more film history stuff to learn. And this is just so fascinating to me. I want to know more.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if it's a part of aging or a midlife crisis, but it's been really rewarding to expand my diet and appetite of cinema at this point in my life. watching these sci-fi movies from the 60s and diving into Roger Corman. And then also on the other end of things, watching a lot more silent films that I knew of, but I'd only seen clips of. And also like film and all these different things that as a Gen Xer were outside of our average media experience.
Mm-hmm.
But now I find it very enriching and rewarding to watch those things and also to see the through lines and how they were an influence on the cinema and TV that we loved so much when we were growing up.
I agree with you. I think it's really interesting. I think it's fascinating and worthy of study and discussion and podcasting about. Matt, thank you for forcing me to watch Cyborg 2087. You didn't have to put a radio telepathy helmet on me to make me do it, but I would have appreciated it either way because this was really good. This was a lot of fun. I appreciate you doing this, man. And I know this was another save me in a pinch setup and recording and all that because certain things fell through. So I appreciate you taking the time. I want to say publicly thank you for all the work that you've done to help me make sure the podcast continues to go out every week. So thank you, man.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. It's always a highlight to have this time where you and I explore cinema from near and far and bizarre.
Ooh.
It's been a blast.
I love that. Did you just come up with that? Or?
I did, on the fly.
I love it. I love it. Near, far, and bizarre. I love it. Okay, a point of clarification. Actually, 2 points of clarification. First of all, the Hammer film that I was referencing was called Beyond the Rave, and no, Corey Feldman was not in that. I don't know why I thought he was. I don't know how I mixed that up in my head. This is a British production. It came out in 2008, and it was initially released in installments on, of all things, MySpace. Yeah. So this was an online release. Now, I've never seen it. I think it's been released on DVD since then. You probably can find it if you go looking for it. One thing that I did find when I went looking for it, though, was the audio commentary track for Cyborg 2087 by Chris Alexander. And I did confirm that the music that appeared in the film did get sold off into a music library, and that's where George A. Romero found it and used it in Night of the Living Dead. So it was actually a Paul Dunlap score through and through. It wasn't library music plus his music. It was all Paul Dunlap 100% in Cyborg 2087, at least as far as I can tell. And then some of that music ended up going into circulation. And I wonder if it turned up in any other films other than Night of the Living Dead. I think it's really interesting when you start looking at music from Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead in particular. You're going to find bits of music from the music libraries that they used turn up in other movies. Specifically, the one I'm thinking about right now with a big old goofy grin on my face is music that appeared in Monty Python and the Holy Grail can actually also be heard in one of Romero's zombie films. And I think that's hilarious. I think it's interesting. And I just love finding these little weird connections, the tendrils that connect not just horror cinema and science fiction cinema, but all of cinema. If you start to look at it close enough, you're going to find all these weird connections. And having an opportunity to talk about some of these connections with Matt or with anybody that comes on the show, one of my favorite parts of producing Bride of Monster Kid Radio. So I hope you enjoyed listening to it. Thank you for being here. Thanks for listening. And thank you to Kenny and Mark for their amazing segments as well. Now, if you have any feedback for the show, if you want to talk about anything that you've heard about here on the show, I mentioned it earlier with Matt. I'm going to mention it again. You can email me at monsterkidradio@gmail.com, or you can call and leave us a voicemail at 360-524-2484. We would love to hear from you. I know I keep saying it. I want to do a feedback only special maybe later this year, and I would love to have you be part of that. So please drop us a line. Let us know what you think about the show. Let us know what you think about classic monster movies. If you have any events coming up in your area, I would love to hear about them because I'd love to talk about them here on the show. Somewhere that other people have been posting things about other things happening that Monster Kids might dig is online on Facebook, which is where we happen to be. We have a Facebook page and a Facebook group. We're also on X. We're also on Blue Sky. Yeah, we have a Reddit. We don't do a lot with it, but we'd love to see get some activity. And we have a Patreon at patreon.com/monsterkidradio, where if you follow us on Patreon, even as a free member, when we announce what the next episode is going to be. Well, actually, not when. This is the only place we announce what the next episode is going to be. So we would love for you to follow us for free over on Patreon. Of course, if you want to kick in a buck or two, that helps us out as well. Now, this episode was a little late, and I mentioned this on Facebook, so if you follow us on Facebook, you already know. Wednesday had a vet appointment, and I want to give a shout out to the Chewy Vet Clinic who treated us so well. Wednesday's doing okay. She's just getting to be an older kitty, a senior kitty. She did have a gallbladder issue several months ago, and, I'm just trying to take care of my girl, making sure my little one is happy and healthy and doing all right. And she is doing all right, although we've got a dental cleaning we've got to figure out a way to budget for coming up probably within the next 6 months. And that's going to be a little on the pricey side. So if you can think of anything that, this podcaster, full-time Lego employee who, probably doesn't need to sleep nearly as much as he does, can do on the side to earn a few extra bucks, let me know. Because, gonna have to get Wednesday a new grill. Okay, not really, but actually that would be kind of funny if we got her the gold teeth, No, bad idea. Bad idea. Anyway, you can find us online. You can find all the links that I mentioned over at monsterkidradio.net. You'll find links to what Mark's up to. You'll find links to the band that we played. You're going to find links to everything, including our Amazon affiliate link. If you are going to shop on Amazon, please consider clicking on the Amazon affiliate button first, then fill your cart, then check out. By doing that, you're helping us out a little bit here at Bride of Monster Kid Radio and Team Death, and it means a lot to us to know that y'all have our back. I would love to hear from you. Like I said, I want to know what's going on in your neck of the woods, or if you even want to put together a segment, that would be awesome too. How cool would it be to be part of Bride of Monster Kid Radio? Drop me a line. Let me know what you're thinking of, and maybe we can, get you on the show doing a regular or semi-regular segment. That'd be fun, right? Bride of Monster Kid Radio is a Team Death production. All original content of Bride of Monster Kid Radio is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 Unported license. You can learn more about Team Death, our other projects like Death Designs, Mail Order Zombie, the Team Death YouTube channel, and more at www.teamdeath.com. Remember, death is spelled D-E-T-H. All previous episodes of this podcast, as well as the original Monster Kid Radio podcast, are available at www.monsterkidradio.net. Please rate and review Bride of Monster Kid Radio wherever you download your favorite podcasts. Nagahama is copyright 2026, the Fuzziyama Surfers. They're a surf band based out of Nagoya, Japan. You can find them on Facebook or on Bandcamp at fuzziyama.nagoya.japan.bandcamp.com, or follow the link in the show notes over at monsterkidradio.net. However you check them out, let them know you heard about them here on Bride of Monster Kid Radio. My name's Derek M. Cook. I'll talk to everybody next week. Ciao.